Jason Ellis, a born-again Christian, didn't drink or take drugs. His father says if we told him to be home by midnight, he'd be home at 11:30. But on the afternoon of February 28, 1986, Jason slumped to the floor of his garage, dead at 17 of carbon monoxide poisoning. A suicide note declared, "Please do not blame yourselves for what I did. I'm a terrible son. I haven't been able to communicate with you." Jason Ellis is one of the thousands of teenagers who have chosen death as an escape from emotional torment. Recently, a 15-year-old girl who killed herself left a letter saying, "Goodbye, cruel world. I'm leaving you now, and there's nothing you can say to make me change my mind. Don't be sad. Rejoice. It's a new beginning. It didn't hurt. I'm free." Despite medical advances the past 30 years, the death rate has risen for people aged 15 to 24, while the rate for all other age groups has steadily declined. Every 90 minutes, someone in the United States between the ages of 15 and 24 commits suicide, adding up to nearly 6,000 wasted lives annually. Many come from affluent middle-class families. They live in comfortable homes. They're well-fed and clothed. They have cars, stereos, designer jeans. They travel on holiday vacations, devour pizzas, and live in a society with boundless opportunities. Still, none of that seems to satisfy them. Why do teenagers seek death? Divorce, poverty, loss of a loved one, moving, academic pressures, all these are cited as causes for the increase in youth suicide. What seems like a minor setback to adults can be a major adversity to teenagers. One boy who got into Yale but was refused by Princeton killed himself. Another young man put his father's gun in his mouth and pulled the trigger. He was a popular high school senior athlete, but said it was the best time to end his life. One psychologist who works as a crisis control expert said, "Part of adolescence is loss of idealism. They believe suicide is a rational act in terms of a world of unkept promises and imperfect parents." Increasingly, school officials are having to accept the responsibility of responding to youthful suicides. Experts warn against holding a memorial service or dedicating the yearbook to a dead student, which glorifies the act and increases chances of copycat suicides. Fearful parents can only wonder if dramatic changes in a child's conduct reflect the variabilities of adolescent behavior or symptoms of pending self-destruction. Why are teens seeking death? Some blame rock and roll and tunes like Suicidal Maniac by the punk band Suicidal Tendencies and Suicide Solution by Ozzy Osbourne. Others say television is at fault, pointing out that young people are raised in a culture ensuring they will witness 17,000 violent deaths on TV and rock videos by the time they graduate from high school. Others say that horror films and videos like Faces of Death encourage the escapist ideology of suicide. A survey in Teen magazine revealed that 1 out of 6 youths questioned had attempted suicide and 50% had thought about it. Why are teens seeking death? Is it music or the movies, television or education? Is it parents who have failed? Or are we all partially to blame for a society that demeans the value of life? Tampa, Florida. Steve?
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Fine. How are you doing? That's a question.
About 6 months ago, I was diagnosed as having AIDS.
How did you get it?
Well, from my ex-girlfriend.
Ex-girlfriend?
Yeah. And since then, I've been seriously thinking about committing suicide because I was told I had about a year to live. And I really want to come to the Lord. I don't know how.
How old are you?
18.
Where's your girlfriend now? I mean...
Well, it wasn't really my girlfriend. I, met her one night. And, we had sex the night I met her. I met her at a party.
Had the authorities tried to track her down?
Yes, they did.
And?
Oh, yeah, they tracked her down.
What do they do about it? Anything?
Well, I don't really know, because, I haven't seen her in quite a long time.
What good would suicide do?
Well, it stopped everything. I don't have to worry about no pain or nothing. I felt better since I called you. I had second thoughts about it.
Have you made a commitment of your life to God, Steve?
No, I want to, though.
Why haven't you done it?
I don't know. I just don't know how.
Steve, you need to just tell the Lord that when the time comes, you want to be with Him.
Okay.
That's just about all the thief on the cross said. He said, "Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And that was enough of a prayer because Jesus looked in the heart. Tell the Lord you want to be with him when you die.
Lord, I want to be with you when I die.
Forgive me my sins, Lord.
Forgive me of my sins, Lord.
Come into my life.
Come into my life.
Steve,
Uh-huh.
God has a purpose for you. I can't hope to explain to you any sense of justice in what appears to be a terrible injustice, but there is a plan. And God can make beautiful use of your life and what is left. Let him have your life. Say, Lord, take my life.
Lord, take my life.
Come into me and be my Savior.
Come into me and be my Savior.
We all know we're going to die. And you know, some of you listening to me right now are going to face God's judgment seat before Steve. He may have a fatal disease. So do you. It's called sin. And some of you, it'll get you before it does Steve. You'll just be driving down the highway, and the car will crash. You'll just suddenly come down with something mysterious you never knew you had. The doctor will look at you soberly and say, you have only a few months. The issue isn't when we die. The question is, are we ready when we do? Sometimes I'm amazed at people who call this broadcast, and I have a chance to pray with them, and they come to Christ like Steve. Sometimes it sounds so easy, but remember, many of these people have been listening for months on end, and they have heard scores of people come to the Lord. And they ponder it, and they think about it, and the Holy Spirit deals with them. If that's your case, would you write me at Box 36A, Denver 80236? Would you call the station to which you're listening? Would you give your life to Jesus now, too, like Steve? Max, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, what's your story?
Yeah, I lost a daughter 3 years ago, and a son who attempted last year.
Why did she do it?
There was no explanation. Just I missed all the signs that.
How old was she?
She's 15.
Who found her?
Her friend found her. She'd taken pills.
What kind of guilt recrimination did you go through?
Well, tremendous. Of course, I continue in therapy to this day. Yeah.
Never found a reason. Never found anything that you thought kind of pushed her over the edge.
Well, nothing that I could specifically cause. We provide all these standard middle-class values and accoutrements and lifestyle necessary for a normal American kid, and she didn't accept that, I guess. I don't know. It wasn't a rejection of values, per se. I should imagine it was a heavy focus on the inevitability and disillusionment with the nihilistic lifestyle everybody around her led, I guess.
That's very well put, Max. There are a lot of danger signals that the experts in the area of teen suicide discuss. Looking back on it now, though you certainly can't be faulted for not having recognized it then, were there some you now can see that were present that you wonder if I could have understood what it was at that time?
Yes, and I believe that has led to the understanding of those signals has led to a prevention of my son filling out his earlier desire to destroy himself.
Did the sister's death have anything to do with him?
I'm sure it must have. Insanity does not run in our family in any way. So I'm.
Max, to the parent who's listening right now, who may be thinking, well, could it happen to me? What must I look out for? Through therapy and through retrospection, are there just one or two things that stick out in your mind that you would like to share with some of the parents who are listening?
Yes, therapy is a waste of money. Let's see,
It hasn't helped you?
Worldly totally therapy is a waste of money. It's simply a process you have to go through, and ridding of the guilt has to come through self-forgiveness.
What about things that you would like to tell parents to look out for in their own family now to prevent it?
I would say certain media influences, aloneness, building family unity is a good thing to do. That we did not have. We did not have family unity.
Some of the things that experts say to watch out for are a change in appetite, change in sleep patterns, decreased concentration, decreased interest in activities that previously were a source of pleasure, sudden agitation or sudden slowing down of activity, feelings of hopelessness or worthlessness, inappropriate excess guilt, or suicidal thoughts themselves. By the way, it's a myth that people who talk about committing suicide never do it. Statements like, "I wish I'd never been born," need to be taken seriously. They could be distress signals, as well as changes in eating or sleeping habits. The teenager thinking of suicide might give away prized possession or take risks such as driving carelessly. Teachers ought to be alert for a drop in performance at school. Max made an interesting point. If you're a parent, you've been through it. Therapy can help you to understand why it happened. And that's good, and that's important. But only God can give you the grace to forgive yourself. Walden, New York. Melanie?
Yeah, Bob. I'm 24 now, but when I was a teenager, I attempted suicide. Privately, quietly, with no note, and my parents never even knew about it. But it was as a result of sexual promiscuity. Like, that was really the bottom line. I was sleeping around with all these people, and just.
Why should that affect you? A lot of people would say, "Hey, that's great fun, makes you feel good, no problem." Why should that make anybody want to kill themselves?
Oh, it didn't make me feel good at all. I'm not even sure, how I really got started into all of it. But it began to be like a real vicious cycle. I would sleep with someone and feel guilty, and the guilt would just cause me to rebel more. And pretty soon the guilt built up so badly. I wasn't repenting of it. I wasn't getting rid of this guilt, and I just didn't have any outlet for it.
Well, the humanistic psychologist would say, your problem was guilt feelings that you should have ignored and not had to face. Just a repressive religious society put that on you.
Yeah, well, that's a bunch of really. It was obviously Jesus. Now I know that I needed to repent of that, but the guilt was so terrible because inside everyone, according to Scripture, there's all of creation, knows that Jesus is Lord, and those inner feelings are, that conscience is there so that we know to go to God, to turn when we have that guilt. And otherwise it just obviously leads to suicidal tendencies and rebellion and ultimately hell.
That's well put, Melanie. Henry, Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Fine.
Well, see, I think that death is just like the coolest thing. Just,
Death is
fascinating.
Wait, death is cool?
It's fascinating. Like all the coolest people are dead, and.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who's?
It just.
Listen.
I don't know. It's just really cool.
Most of them aren't cool. They're pretty hot.
Very funny. But I don't know.
What's cool? Who's cool?
Well,
who?
Who? God, I don't know, Elvis is cool, I guess.
Wait a minute.
Brian Jones.
Wait a minute. Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
Had an overweight, bloated body. He could not.
You're not attractive yourself, Bob.
He could not sleep. He could not eat. He couldn't even urinate or defecate without the assistance of a pill, people said at the end. I don't think that's cool. And as for Brian Jones swallowing pool water while he's drunk and overdosed, I don't think that's very cool to have your lungs fill up with water because you're so drunk and full of drugs you can't even concentrate on what you're doing and you drown in a swimming pool. No, I don't think Brian and Elvis are very good examples of being cool.
Yes, they are. I'm serious. It's just a cool thing. Name one thing cooler than death.
God
Cool.
and life.
I gotta admit that sex is cool. You know?
Sex is cool. Death is cool. I think you need help, friend. I really do. Bruce, Pasadena, California.
Hello, Bob.
Bruce.
Yes, 1 year ago, this last March, our whole family was very shocked when my stepbrother, who didn't seem to give any notification whatsoever, was chased by friends up into the mountains and shot himself in the head.
Why was he chased?
No one seems to know the story exactly, Bob. There's rumors that he was on cocaine and drugs, although my Mormon family, I'm a Christian, had no idea that any of this was going on. The rumors are that maybe some of those friends were involved with drugs and cocaine even that day and were trying to stop him. And the nightmare story that they chased him up into the mountains, and he got to the top as the sun was setting and shot himself in the head. So no one seems to really know exactly why, Bob. The family is broken, as I said, and he wasn't going to college like all of his other 18-year-old high school graduate friends were, but none of those seemed to be a good reason why he would kill himself.
No word. And how did the family deal with it?
Oh, very, very difficult, very hard, and even this last week, it was a year ago this last week, they left town just to be away, and my stepmother's having great difficulties. They're having counseling, and they're just having a hard time with it. Bob, if I could add one thing from my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Christian, and I always wanted to pray, and I was praying that I'd share with my brother someday, and he was on my prayer list, and after he died, I had to cross him off where it said, pray that you would share Jesus with Justin. And I'll never have that chance, Bob. And I would pray for those Christians out there who have somebody on their prayer list that they would share the love of Jesus with them, that they would do it and take that chance before it's too late.
At 15 years of age, Don Nelson seemed like a typical teenager. No one knows why. On April 14, 1985, he shot himself with his father's gun. There were no family problems and no history of drug or alcohol abuse. Just hours before he took his life, he had helped a neighbor till his garden. But most teens seeking death have been more precise in their reasons for the tragedy. In Denver, Colorado, a 12-year-old girl jumped to her death from a high-rise parking garage. She'd been embarrassed an hour earlier when a teacher read aloud in class a personal note the girl had passed to a classmate. One 15-year-old girl who killed herself wrote, "Please don't be sad. I want to do it. I'm happier this way." The strange phenomenon of teens seeking death worries school officials and law enforcement authorities. A doctor at Cornell University Medical College says 34% of hospitalized teens and 25% of outpatients had attempted suicide. The usual factors cited for a teen seeking death are depression, suicidal behavior by a family member, stress, and peer pressure. If you count even a small percentage of violent accidents as being suicidal, as many experts expect, teen seeking death becomes the major cause of death among the young. Some psychologists say the reason suicide is so prevalent among teenagers is because they act on impulse. Dr. Arthur Berger, who organizes teen suicide conferences, says, "Suicide is the last-ditch effort of acting out a long series of tragic internal conflicts." Can the horrendous trend toward teenage suicide be averted? The executive director of a national suicide help center says, people who are suicidal want to be rescued. They really don't want to die. They just don't know how to keep living with all the pain. As the teenage suicide rate continues to climb, fingers are being pointed at everything from rock and roll to Hollywood, television to humanistic education. Who's really to blame? If you're a teenager who attempted suicide, thought about it, or may even be planning it now, we'd like to know the answer to that question. What happens when a teenager no longer wants to live? Sedalia, Missouri. Lisa?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. I can tell I need you to speak up. It's a weak line. Would you
Okay.
please? Go ahead, Lisa.
I was planning on committing suicide.
When?
Yesterday. But a friend talked me out of it.
Yesterday.
Yes.
What did the friend say?
That, there was no way you were going to commit suicide and that to wait, and so I waited a day.
How old are you?
17.
Lisa?
Yes.
I'm more than twice your age. I got a lot of problems, a lot of pressures. But I look forward to living. Tell me what's the difference between you and me. Why at 17? Because it's hard for me to understand. Why would death be attractive? I mean, my
All problems are solved. They're all solved, and you don't have to face life, and you don't have to go through the pressures.
Your problems are solved?
Yes.
What about the problems of your family and friends that you leave behind?
No.
What about their grief and heartache?
I don't think they care.
Nobody cares about you?
I don't think so.
A friend cared enough about you to get you to live one more day.
Oh. If he truly cares.
Huh?
If he truly cares.
Your parents don't care?
I don't think they do. My dad is an alcoholic. My mom and dad are divorced. He lives in Nevada, and I haven't seen him in 10 years.
You haven't seen your father in 10 years?
Right.
Do you have any males in your life of any kind?
I did have a boyfriend, but he dumped me about 3 weeks ago.
Why?
To go out with another girl just because.
So your boyfriend dumped you, your dad's an alcoholic. Your mother?
She works a lot of the time.
Does she love you?
Supposedly.
Does she tell you?
No.
And your friend?
They tell me that they're my friends, but...
So how are you going to kill yourself?
I'm pills.
Where are you getting them?
I just... Whatever I have sleeping pills. My mom bought them. I want to die, but I'm scared to kill myself. I want to die real bad. God, I don't believe he loves me. At first I didn't believe there was a God.
Lisa?
Yes.
Well, you sure went through an awful lot if it wasn't love. Lisa, what's happened in your life that's so tragic?
I was raped.
Raped?
Yes.
When?
When I was 7 and about when I was 15.
Twice? By whom?
By my uncle and my grandfather.
If you could speak to God and knew he would hear, what would you tell him?
That I was mad at him for not letting me die, probably. I was mad at him for letting this happen to me in my life.
Hang on for a second, Lisa. Lauren?
Yes, Bob.
Yeah, you're in Bakersfield, California. Little feedback here. I need you to speak up a little louder, Lauren. I still have Lisa on the line with me. What's your situation, Lauren?
Bob, I'm a survivor of suicide. My 17-year-old son took his life on December the 21st, 1985, just 4 days prior to Christmas. And it's been a life-changing event. Quite opinionated now, Bob, about the subject of teen suicide and responsibility of parents in regard to it. And I'm sitting here listening to Lisa, and my heart goes out to her.
She can hear you right now. Say hello to her.
Hi, Lisa.
Lisa?
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear him?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Lisa, our heart really bleeds for you. I know you're hurting. And I know that a lot of things have happened in your life from adults that cause you to not have much confidence in them. But let me tell you, as a parent who has lost a son, and I'm sure at the time my son died, he didn't have much confidence in the adults either, didn't think that his parents loved him, and shame on us for ever allowing that attitude to exist. But I'm sure your mother loves you very much. And I just pray to God that some way or another she could let you know that. Because you need to know that you're loved. You've called Bob today, and you've reached out, and I know he loves you, and this ministry loves you. Believe me, Lisa, there are people out there that would like to help you. Because suicide, Lisa, that's not the answer, dear. It really isn't.
What does it do, Lauren, to the parent that's left behind? What would it do to her mother? What did it do to you?
Well, Bob, it devastates you. I'm a person who never showed emotions. Very rarely did I, and I never told my children that I loved them, though I did. but it changes you. I'll never be the same. There's a part of me that went to the grave with my son. But I relish the opportunity of coming on wherever it be and telling parents, hey, the young people of America today are hurting. And it's our responsibility of parents to reach out to this hurting generation, let them know that we love them, but above all, that Christ loves them.
Lisa, your response?
It's hard to believe that God could love me after all I've done.
What have you done?
I drink now.
You get drunk?
Yes.
What else?
I don't do hardly anything else. I've been asked to do drugs, but I haven't done it.
I'm glad. But you're just drinking to forget.
I probably won't be.
Lisa?
Yes.
Yeah, you're just drinking to forget. You're just trying to get away from it. Doesn't work very well. You can't get away from it. Lisa, if there's something that any one of us, Lauren or I or anyone could do for you, what would you want us to do?
I don't know. Just be my friend.
A lot of people would like to be your friend, especially God. God would especially like to be your friend.
Yeah.
He understands. You know, the Bible tells us that Jesus is a high priest. That's someone who presents offerings of sin, weaknesses. And he was in every point tempted just like us. It means that Satan tempted Jesus with thoughts of suicide. Now, as hard as it is to understand, he is God, but he has been there, and he felt those thoughts go through his mind. Why don't I kill myself, and I won't have to go to the cross, and I won't have to suffer all of this? See, he does understand, Lisa.
Yeah.
Could we have a word of prayer with you?
Yeah.
Lauren, would you lead us in prayer?
Bob, I'd be happy to. Dear God and Father in heaven, in the name of Jesus who loved us and died for us, I pray that you reach out right now, and God, that you touch the heart of Lisa. Let her know, Lord, that God, you will give her the hope that she can have a wonderful life, and Lord, above all, that she can have a wonderful eternal life.
Scientists have told teenagers they're evolutionary animals. Educators have insisted God has no place in their classrooms. Should we surprise at all that in the midst of this despair they seek to end a life not worth living because they think there's no God to love them and no creator from whence they came? Our schools and society fail to tell young people life can be eternal. Instead, they're deceived by self-satisfaction, self-fulfillment, and self-realization. When such selfishness is unfulfilling, they seek suicide as a way out. Because death is better than what society has to offer. Can you blame them?
This is the end of Side 1. Please turn the cassette over at this point for the continuation of the message on Side 2.
Many of them have been physically abused as well as sexually and verbally assaulted. Others have suffered a significant loss or death in the family. A high percentage of them feel the pressure to excel, and they feel inadequate when unable to live up to others' expectations or false hopes they establish for themselves. The most common denominator is alcohol or drug abuse. They are teenagers looking for a way out of an uncomfortable life, seeking death in their despair. And over 50% of suicides or attempted suicides among the young, drugs are either part of the person's history or part of the actual attempt. According to a psychologist who heads up a prevention group known as the American Association of Suicidology, the biggest need among adolescents is to, quote, develop resilient and stress-resistant kids, end of quote. The rising rate of teenage suicide has prompted a variety of public school programs designed to decrease the risk. Right now, more than 100 different prevention programs are being conducted in 1,600 American schools. A typical approach is to ask the kids point blank if they're considering suicide. One school counselor conducting such a program has observed, quote, the kids look at you like you've just dropped the moon on their heads, but kids who are thinking about it are tremendously relieved. Experts concerned about the problem of teens seeking death offer some do's and don'ts for parents and those involved with youth. Do trust your instincts if you suspect someone is suicidal. Do talk openly and try to determine the seriousness of his plan. Do remove all lethal weapons from the home, including guns and drugs. Do not act shocked or judgmental when you are told, and don't debate the merits of suicide and make the teenager feel more guilty and worse than the depression. Steve, we're not going to say where you're calling from.
Thank you.
What's on your mind?
I'm running out of reasons to hang around. Everything's falling apart. I've had enough. I'm a born-again Christian. I've been saved since I was 12.
How old are you now?
I'm 19. I go to a church.
Well, when you say everything is falling apart, that is a very broad brushstroke.
It sure is.
What's everything?
Everything. My family fell apart. My mom, she beat me all the way up until me and my sister were like 15 or 16. I see my sister still living in that hell with her. There's nothing I can do.
Wait a minute, your sister's still at home, your mother's still beating her?
She still hits her. She still gets it. She's gone to the police, all marred up and everything. There's nothing I can do. She has 2 more years until she gets away.
Your father?
I don't know. I don't know where he is.
You don't? He just left?
Yeah, when I was 12.
And lately?
And lately, I had a girlfriend that I was close to, and I felt like I wasn't enough for her, and we'd been together like 2.5, 3 years, and I told her that it was over, and I made her leave, and she kept coming around and everything, and I feel like there's nothing.
Well, wait a minute now.
I have.
Steve, excuse me. You care about her?
Yeah, I love her.
Why did you tell her to leave?
Because I don't think I'm what she needs.
Well, Steve, that's a decision she needs to make. But don't you understand that the kind of abuse that you've gone through all these years has created a self-punishing personality?
Oh, I suppose.
And that telling this young lady whom you truly loved and who must have been excellent emotional support to you to leave was a masochistic act of self-punishment. It was saying to yourself, I deserve to be hurt more, I am unworthy, I'm not fit. When that's an evaluation that you've internalized because of the abuse others have perpetrated on you, not because of the person you really are. You see, the problem, Steve, is that you are reflecting on what you've done on the basis of what your tormentors have done to you. And you've developed the kind of personality cycle that's very prevalent in a situation like this, where after a while you've been punished unjustly for so long that you then believe your lot in life, in fact, your justice is to continue to be punished.
But I don't want to continue to be punished.
Yeah,
That's
you do.
why I don't want to stay around.
But Steve, you see, there's a part of you that does, and suicide is kind of the ultimate punishment.
I don't know that I can kill myself though. I have a motorcycle, and I don't know how many times I've driven it. Speeds over 120, and just prayed, just let me go, you know. He won't let me die, and I would just wish he would. I don't want to finish this joke. I've had enough.
He won't let you die because he loves you and he's got something better for you.
But I can die and I can go home to him. What's wrong with that? I can go be with my father.
Steve?
I have 2 other friends that do the same thing. And we're in a church. But they're so wrapped up in their politics, worrying about what they're going to build next and who's doing what to who, they don't have time.
Yeah.
I don't see the point. I'm just so disillusioned. I didn't have these problems when I was on drugs, even after I was saved. I feel like it was a mistake to go to a church and to get off the things that I was into and start a new life and do that.
No, wait a minute, Steve.
It's gotten harder. It hasn't gotten better.
Yeah.
The victory isn't there.
It's not there, Steve, because night's not over yet. It isn't dawn, and it hasn't broken. But it will. And when it does, there will be someone into whose eyes you will look, and whose voice you will hear even as I'm hearing yours. And as I sit by this mic and I'm broken inside and I grope for words to say, I'm sure you know that I'm doing my best to somehow try and help you, but the words aren't there because I haven't been there. Steve, you will have been there. And you will be able to reach out with a compassion and a love that even I can't have. And that most of us cannot have because we've not known that despair. But you will. And someone else's life will be enriched, and it will be different, and they will live. They'll know the goodness of God because you were there. But if you're not there, because you took the easy way out, someone else will go through a greater hell on this earth because you weren't there to step and reach to this prayer family when we reached to Steve. He's one of us. He is part of our body. We cannot forsake him, and when he hurts, we hurt. He's running out of reasons. But you are the reason. In the depths of his inner being, God, at the core of who he is, let him know he is of great value and of continuing purpose beyond this moment and beyond this despair. Sheila?
Yes?
Tulsa, what's on your mind?
You're talking about people killing themselves.
Yeah?
Well, see, my mom and my dad have been divorced ever since I was real little.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad always tells me he loves me, but he never shows me that he does. He always lies to me.
He lies to you?
Yes?
Oh.
Well, he always tells me that he's going to do things and that he loves me, and he never does them.
How old are you, Sheila?
13.
Have you thought about killing yourself?
Yeah, I almost did once.
What'd you do?
Huh?
What'd you do?
I was putting the dishes away, and I was fixing to put a knife away. And I had it to my stomach, but...
You put it... it's hard for me to hear. You put a knife to your stomach?
Yeah.
At 13?
Yes. I was 12 then.
Why didn't you do it?
Because I thought about my mom coming home and finding me there, and then also that if I killed myself, I wouldn't go to heaven.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever see your father?
Yeah.
Do you ever tell him how you feel?
I wrote a letter to him, but I never did give it to him.
Give it to him, Sheila. Give it to him. He needs to read it. He needs to know. Chances are he's wrapped up in his own life. He may have some of his own selfish concerns, but that doesn't mean that down deep, because he's your father, he doesn't love you. He just may not know how to show it. He may be awkward at showing it, and the distress of the divorce may have caused him to have such hang-ups over the whole relationship with his ex-wife, your mother, and you, that he almost doesn't know what to say. Sheila?
Mm-hmm.
You need to give him that letter, and you need to sit down and write him another one. And you need to tell him how much it hurts. You need to be honest with him. Don't ever pick up one of those knives again.
But I was talking to my mom, and Mom, there's not really, what is there left in this world to live for?
A lot, Sheila. I'm sorry that your father and your mother didn't make it, and I'm sorry that your father just doesn't somehow seem to be able to express his deep feelings toward you. That doesn't have to be the end of life. It can go on. And there are other people who can love you. Friends, a man someday whom God will bring you. Wonderful Christians. God has great joy in store for you, Sheila. This is just one person. It's an important person, your father, but it's just one person. There are many others who can love you and who will love you. And God will send people to take the place if you just give him a little time. Just a little time is all he asks, Sheila. Please do that. I have Connie on the line, Yuma, Arizona. Connie?
Hi.
Hi. Go ahead. We're talking about suicide and teens seeking death.
Yeah, I've tried to commit suicide myself.
Why?
Well, because there just wasn't any use in going on.
Is there now?
I don't know.
What's happened to you? Why do you hate yourself so much you want to kill yourself?
Because, I don't know, everything that's happened, it seems like it was always my fault, so.
Like?
Well, like I used to live with my grandparents,
Mm-hmm.
and they always said that everything was my fault.
What?
Anything that ever happened.
Were you abused?
Yeah,
How?
physically and sexually.
And they said it was your fault.
Yeah.
They lied. They lied, Connie. They wanted to save their own necks and their own skin, and they justified their hideous, perverted abuse of you by laying the trip back on your shoulders and pinning the guilt on you, and that's very typical of people who do that kind of thing. That's the normal thing for abnormal people to do. Connie, don't buy the guilt. Send it back. It doesn't belong on you. And you can't hate yourself for what they did to misuse and abuse you. And that sounds pretty simple to say that, but psychologically it's profound, and somehow it has to take root down inside you. Still thinking about killing yourself?
Yeah, I have.
Your father and mother, what about them?
My mom lives in Tucson, and my dad, he committed suicide when I was 4.
Oh, my. It's not a pleasant memory, is it?
I've been blamed for that, too.
Who blamed you for that?
My grandparents.
How could you at 4 years of age be responsible for your father's suicide? What was their reasoning?
I was just too bad of a kid.
Every 4-year-old kid is bad and ornery. They're kids. They're children. They're not expected to be perfect. Your father had deep-seated problems of some kind. It had nothing to do with you as a child. Your grandfather really tell you your father killed himself because of you?
Yeah.
Connie, you kill yourself, what will it gain? What will it really gain? Who will it help? Hang on, Connie. Mark?
Yes?
I have Mark on the line, Syracuse, New York. You're listening to this conversation, Mark?
Yeah.
How old are you?
19.
That's about your age. How old are you, Connie?
19.
19. What about you, Mark? What's your situation?
Well, for about 2 years, I had contemplated nothing really but suicide, and I was a strong Christian then, and I was I'm what you would consider physically unattractive, and I had no friends, no associates, and I was even extremely conscious, of my looks around my family,
Mm-hmm.
and not that I'm a monster or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And just within a year, God changed me totally. And one thing that lifted me up is that through different signs and wonders that He showed me in biblical facts, He showed me, now this might be controversial, but He showed me that the rapture will be this year. And
He showed you what?
That the rapture will be this year.
It's not going to be this year. It's not going to be this year, Mark.
Oh, yeah?
Mark?
Huh?
Still want to kill yourself?
No, because another thing I wanted to say is, He's shown me His plan, for my life now. And, even though those same problems remain, I in no way want to kill myself now, because I know His power, and I know, it's just great to know what His plan was for me, because just a year ago, I was just like these people, you know. Each day I would, just like Job, you know, curse the day, you know, I was born and all, but...
Connie?
What?
How close have you come to killing yourself? You need. I can't hardly hear you. You need to speak up.
I've tried it a few times.
Are you getting any help right now? Are you seeing a therapist, a pastor, anyone?
No.
Why not? Are you talking to anyone about your feelings?
No, not really.
Well, you've got to, Connie. You talked to me today.
That's because you don't know me.
Young Gregory was passing a playground when his anxiety over a failing report card spilled over in frustration. He turned to a group of children and said, "Hey, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to kill myself." Then the youngster went home and took his life with a shotgun. 2 years later, the circumstances of his death are being weighed in a civil lawsuit in which his parents contend the local school authorities should have recognized his potential for self-destruction and done something about it. Educators are watching the case watching the case closely, saying it is symptomatic of a growing and disturbing tendency to blame schools for social problems beyond their control. Well, who is to blame for the incredible increase in teenage suicides? Some say rock music, with its emphasis on darkness and destruction, creating a mental mindset facilitating thoughts of death. Others blame horror videos, from Faces to Death to the Nightmare on Elm Street series. Well, whoever or whatever's to blame, experts say the moment an adolescent mentions suicide, pay attention. Don't brush it off. Don't keep it a secret, especially if they've tried it before. Studies show that 80% who are successful at committing suicide have made one or more previous attempts. Be particularly cautious when a parent or friend has died. Sometimes the loss of self-esteem is so damaging to the fragile, youthful ego that suicide seems the only way out. Other signs to watch out for include preoccupation with themes of death and giving away prized possessions. Back to Carrie, Monrovia, California. We had to break away from you a moment ago. What's on your mind now again, Carrie? Your best friend committed suicide.
Yes, I grew up with him from 3rd grade on, and then I saw him again in high school, and we've kept in touch, and we spent a lot of time together during Christmas, and the last time I had spoken with him, I was talking to him about God, and it didn't go over too well. He thought that I was pushing God on him, and I had expressed to him that I was just concerned for him and that when I go into heaven, I want to see him there. And he said, "Don't talk to me about God. I don't want to know about God," and et cetera, et cetera. He didn't believe in hell, but he believed in the fact that Jesus Christ, died on the cross. And I expressed to him that I felt that he needed to read the Word so that he wasn't confused. And we ended up hanging up, and then a few minutes later I called him back and had expressed to him that I was sorry that I may have pushed it on him. It's just that I had expressed that I had cared about him, and he apologized to me, and that was the last time I talked to him. And his father called me up last night and told me that Terry had committed suicide.
You just learned last night?
Yeah, he did it 2 weeks ago, 2 Saturdays ago. And
so what thoughts are going through your mind?
Frustration, anger, and hurt, and helplessness. And it's like, I feel like, why would he do something like that? I feel that it was, he didn't even look at the circumstances of how it would affect his family.
Well, if he were rational, he would have done that. But if he were rational, he would have killed himself. So you can't evaluate his behavior, Carrie, on the basis of your perception of what should have been rationality. And keep in mind that in his rejection of the Lord, in a certain sense, he really was giving Satan an opportunity to wreak havoc with his mind, and who knows what kind of lies the devil whispered in his ear. Dallas, Tyrone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Bob. I've been having a problem with thinking about suicide, for about the past 3 years. And
3 years?
Yeah, 3 years I've been thinking about it.
How old are you?
I'm 16.
Since you were 13?
Yeah.
Why?
My environment, family.
What's so bad about it?
Well, my dad's in jail. When I was 3 months old, he killed a convenience store clerk. And he's on death row down in Huntsville. My mom's an alcoholic. I barely get to see her. She works at a major hotel in Dallas. She works the graveyard shift. But I've been trying to get out of this slum place that we're in, this apartment complex where there's
Tyrone, I'm going to tell you, I'm very impressed with you. And I can understand why there might be some moments of despair that would even cause thoughts of suicide to enter your mind, considering everything you've got to cope with. But you are a courageous young man. You are a brave young man, and I commend you. When I listen to some kids out there who have everything wanting to end it all, I hope they've listened to you. Some of the spoiled children of affluency need to wake up and listen to what a young man like you is having to deal with day by day and wonder if they really have it so bad. It's in Bernardino, California. Bill?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a friend that just called me and told me to listen to your show, and then he called me back, gave me your number. I got in the last part of it.
Yeah.
I was son that's going to be 11,
Mm-hmm.
and the last couple of weeks, I've been taking him to church a lot. And the last couple of weeks, he's been asking me if you're a Christian and you kill yourself, or you go to heaven. And I asked him why I asked, and he said this story about somebody that he knew somewhere else in the neighborhood, quite a ways from here. I guess he was, according to him, he was 18 or 19 or something on that order. And
Well, are you concerned that your own son might be entertaining these thoughts, or he simply wants to know what happened to the other boy?
I'm concerned that he's entertaining these thoughts because of
Because of what?
lifestyle his mother's leading. She's not living here anymore. She just comes and goes. She's living with a boyfriend. And it's really,
That's his mother. She comes and goes, and
yeah, he doesn't understand it. You know, just until recently, everything. Well, I've been ill, but other than that, everything was, you know, like we were a pretty close family and everything, and just the bottom dropped out all of a sudden.
well, Bill, what you've got to do is get some really serious professional help for this child. You've got to get this child to a counselor, whether in your school or someone referred to by the child's school, who is an expert in child psychology, who understands how the appropriate questions regarding what's on his mind need to be phrased. I'm very reluctant to tell you how to approach this because this requires some real specialty. And I think you need to be cautious, but you can no longer kind of overlook this. I commend you for having put your finger on a terribly potential dangerous problem. You need to talk to your pastor. You need to talk to your school. You need to find out someone who has experience in child therapy, who knows why these types of questions are posed, and can answer the child once they have asked him the questions to get out into the open where the real need and the real hurt is. And my prayer is that you'll not put it off a day longer. We'll get you some help. We'll talk with you further. We'll assist in any way we can. Now I have Lynn on the line in, what is this, Cookeville, Missouri? Or Maryland?
This is Maryland. It's
Maryland.
Cockeysville.
How do you pronounce it?
Cockeysville.
Cockeysville, Maryland. Yeah? Why did you call in?
I've attempted suicide, and I still contemplate it a lot.
What do you think about it?
All the time.
All the time. What's so bad?
In my life.
Did you hear Tyrone a moment ago?
I heard Tyrone.
Is your life worse than his?
I don't know. I don't know whose is worse. I guess the grass always looks greener.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't imagine anybody having to deal with much more pressure. His mother an alcoholic, his father a convicted murderer, and he getting his head busted open and mugged. And
I guess it's worse when you're not loved at all.
Ah, Lynn?
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. The bottom line is love. You're not?
I wish they'd just say they loved me once. Just once. Just say, we love you, and not, you're not right for us. You're not good enough for us. You don't care.
Who do you want just to say once they love you?
My parents. I just wanted to say, I love you. Instead of say, you're not good enough. You're not like your brother. You're not like your sister. You're just not good enough for us. It hurts a lot. Or give you a hug, or just want you to say, you know, we really do care about you. Maybe sometimes you screw up, but we do care about you, but they never do. And it just hurts a lot.
Have you told them?
Yes. And they go, we love you. And I go, say it like you mean it. And they go, we mean it. And I'm like, yeah, do you really mean it? And they go, well, if you just do this to yourself, if you just do that to yourself, if you just get A's, if you just do this, if you do this, maybe we'd love you.
Do they say that, or is that an unconscious message they give you?
They say it. They said it before.
Sometimes...
We have to earn their love.
They what?
We have to earn their love. And I can't earn it. And if I can't earn it, I don't want to live.
What makes teenagers seek death rather than life? First, peer pressure. Exaggerating competitiveness creates stress. The teenager who identifies his self-worth through goals may strive to get good grades to prove he's a good person. His failure or falling short of self-imposed expectations may be more than he can handle. Secondly, many teenagers believe they are unlovable. Thus, even when a parent tries to reach out affectionately, the child may believe the demonstration is dishonest. By then, he may believe he deserves to be bad and sees even the slightest inclination to show attention as a further demonstration of his unworthiness. Whatever the cause, Christ is the answer. When it comes to stress, he offers a yoke that is easy and a burden that is light. When it comes to love, he offers unconditional acceptance and a love that cost his life at the cross.
This is the end of the message. For further information regarding other topics available on cassette and in printed form, write Bob Larson Ministries, Box 36A, Denver, Colorado, 80236.